Greetings, dear viewers. It is I, Dragon, and welcome back to another Dungeons & Dragons character conversion video. I would like to remind you to like and subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more of my amazing videos. V. Hello there, handsome duplicate of myself. V, what are you doing? And why are you mimicking my voice right now? Oh. V has been caught! V! Get back here! Like and subscribe! V! I have got to get it through his head not to do that. My apologies, dear viewers. V gets a little excited. But that scene does fit into today's video. Like V has stated, welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons character conversion. As he failed to explain, this series is me going over the different races within Dungeons & Dragons and trying to fit them with a background and a class that best fits the lore with their race. Today is the Kenku, a race known for their voice mimicry. On Twitter, I actually mentioned that they would be very useful as detectives, because they are quite literally a living wiretap. Combine the Kenku's mimicry with, say, a Warlock, and you would actually have a pretty good wiretap. I can actually hear and understand all the different languages, and if you were to give them the observant feat, you can actually read lips. And then use your voice mimicry, once you know what their voice sounds like, to recreate what they said through the lip reading that you saw. Pretty useful skill, I'm not going to lie. But as far as the Kenku goes lore-wise, not many backgrounds and classes best fit the Kenku, which, by the way, are a race of crow-like beings. Some call them raven folk, but they're more or less crows. But they are flightless avian race. And they are flightless because they ticked off the wrong boss who cursed them to be flightless for generations after that betrayal. And the reason for that boss getting ticked off, well, it's the Kenku's greed. Well, the boss should have seen it coming, but I digress. Let's go ahead and jump right into this video by going over the backgrounds. The more common Kenku characters are going to be either criminal, outlander, pirate, or spy, but you might have a few Kenkus who are tired of the criminal lifestyle and just want to be normal adventurers, so they might end up taking an entertainer background. Their mimicry is quite entertaining to some people, so I would definitely see that as a possibility. Most Kenkus are rogues because that's what they do. They like to spy on people. A lot of them are contract killers, they're assassins, or they just do what they do best and steal stuff. Another thing about the Kenkus is that they, other than the rogues, they take up a particular martial style. In older editions, this would have been called the warrior class, which narrows down to fighters, monks, and rangers. And fighter and monk is actually the more common ones that you probably see among Kenku. Now some other people might lead you to believe that Kenkus would not make great monks. I would agree, but I will say that there are still some monk subclasses that would fit a Kenku rather well. So if you'll stay with me throughout this video, I will teach you how to create your own Kenku playable character. So starting things off with the Bard, we're going to go over the College of Whispers, and that is because, much like the Kenku, the Bard College of Whispers deals more in, well, they are kind of the black sheep of the Bards. Almost literally. These are kind of the rogue subclass of the Bard. They deal more in criminal activity than the other bards do. Even though every time someone plays a bard, they're doing something criminal. I digress. The College of Whispers actually deals with criminal activity a lot more than a lot of the other bard classes. And the other bards really do not like the College of Whispers. Thus, pairing it with a Kenku, a race known for their criminal activity, I would say that would actually be pretty useful for a character build. As far as lore goes, anyway. Moving on to Cleric, there are very few Kenkus who follow gods, but those who do follow a very specific god. I don't quite know the name, as my research never got me that far, but it is a god of secrecy. And it's actually mentioned that a domain of trickery is the best way to go for this type of Kenku. And moving on towards Fighter, this is probably going to be one of your most common Kenku classes, is the Fighter. For your archetypes, I would recommend the Battlemaster, Samurai, and the Unearthed Arcana's Scout. Now, a lot of Kenku do like using magic, and have actually made their own sort of magic style that incorporates wind and magical feathers to ward and harm their foes. So, using spells in that flavor would actually be in line with Kenku's. So I would recommend the Eldritch Knight as another fighter subclass that you would use. Now for the Monk. Like I said earlier, Kenkus have their own magical art style. So having a monk that incorporates air and feathers as their form of magic actually makes sense for the monastic tradition of the four elements. And this is especially good when one of the features of the four elements is allowing the user to fly at a certain level. I believe it's level 11. And that's one of the goals of the Kenku, is to be able to fly once more. So that is actually pretty useful. Kinsei monks is another good one, as well as shadow monks. Remember what I said earlier about the Kenku being, forgetting the word here, a specialist in criminal activity, and, well, shadow monks have been stereotypically linked to a ninja, which makes sense since the Kenku is supposed to be based off of the Japanese yokai known as the Tengu. If you want more information on the Tengu, I think Gaijin Goomba has actually gone over this specific yokai, and a lot of other yokai and other forms of Japanese folklore. He's actually one of the best. And, oddly enough, he actually made his own Dungeons & Dragons character using a Kenku as his race. I believe that video is on his channel still, so if you want to check that out, I'm going to try to find it and hopefully put a link in the description if I can remember to do so. I keep forgetting to link everything that I need to link. Eventually I'll get to that. So if you don't see any links in some of my videos, it's because I have not gotten the time to do so. But go ahead and make sure to check out Gaijin's video covering his Kenku ninja, because he actually has some pretty good points in his video. Moving on to the Ranger, like I said, the warrior class is somewhat diverse. It covers both the fighter, the ranger, and the monk. So I wanted to go ahead and cover ranger as well. Much like with the monk, there's only one other good one to use, and that would be the Gloomstalker. And that is for their ability to hide in the shadows, much like what Kenku would like to do. I'd also recommend using the Hunter subclass, since it's more in line with the assassin part of the Kenku's lore. Speaking of assassins, the next class we're going to cover is Rogue. This is the only other diverse class you'll probably be able to choose from when making your Kenku character. Like I've stated previously in other classes, Arcane Trickster would be a good one because of their use of magic. Assassin is a very good one, as well as Inquisitive and Scout. Swashbuckler would also be a pretty good one to use, as well as the Thief, for the same reason as Assassin and Inquisitive. That's what they do best. Steal, kill, and, well, you know the rest. Moving on to the next one is Warlock. Unlike with the clerics, a lot of Kenku actually do worship other higher powers. More specifically, Pazuzu, the demon lord of evil flying things. Ironic. It is actually said that Pazuzu was the said boss that the Kenku ticked off, and caused them to lose their ability to fly in future generations. Kind of sad, but what can you do? Warlocks with the Fiend Patron would actually hint at this part of the lore real well. And finally, we're going to cover Wizard. I couldn't really figure out anything for the Wizard that would match the arcane style that the Kenkus have. I would probably say Conjuration and War Magic is the closest you're going to get to being able to use wind and feathers to ward and harm. But other than that, I believe that's all the time I have for you today, my dear viewers. I hope you did enjoy, as non-diverse as this was, and for V's shenanigans at the beginning of the video. Anyways, until next time, my dear viewers, I'm going to be going over the kobolds in a couple of days on Thursday's video. So, hope to see you then. Until next time, this has been Drehan, and I am offline.